Well, this week, I'll get to last week a little bit, but I'm going to start with this week. Two teams moving in seemingly opposite directions. I think we were playing our best football several weeks ago, and we've hit a real slide. Confidence and composure has been a problem. I think I did not realize how affected our team's confidence was. I think that started with the blowout loss to Montana State, and I feel like our team is broken. I was hesitant to acknowledge that to our team because it hurts, but I think we have no chance to fix what's ailing us if we don't acknowledge that it's broken first. And I think our confidence is in a bad state right now. I think we're watching the scoreboard to determine whether we have a chance to compete in games, and I think we're not built right now to overcome disappointment mid-game. Eastern Washington appears to be on an opposite trajectory, a real testament to their culture and what they're putting together this year. In my opinion, they've gotten better and better, almost in a linear progression each week, coming off of a great effort at Montana, where they should have had maybe 2 or 3 more chances to take the lead in the last 30 seconds of the game, and ended up with an unfortunate mishap, a fumbling spike, clock management spike at the end of the game. But a great effort in many different ways by their offense, defense, and special teams. Kind of an epic battle, a fun game to watch in continuity. Usually we watch our opponents in a series of cut-ups, offense, defense, run plays, pass plays, something like that. And but just to watch that game was a great game. So I know they'll be an angry team. They'll be a motivated team, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. Coulda, shoulda, woulda beat Montana. So and then another dynamic for them is pulling a quarterback from deep off the bench. And number 12, Jake Shackle. Don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but what an outing for him. 450 or so yards passing, 63 attempts. Eastern Washington has always been able to run the ball since Coach Best has been there, so they have that dynamic as well. But the way the game went, falling down by I think 22 points early, put them in a little more of a passing mode. So I think their confidence is growing in their ability to attack through the air and on the ground. Defense is rising to the occasion and getting better every week. One of the better front 4 units, in my opinion, in the Big Sky on defense for Eastern Washington. And our challenge is to simply play to our potential. I think we have a much better team than what we're playing, and we need to have more fun. A week ago, the last thing I'll say about NAU, other than respond to fair questions, a week ago, coming off of our loss to Montana State, I told our team, win or lose, we will stay together, and that was a big point of emphasis for me, a big push for me last week. It was central to almost everything I spoke to our team about, and we did. We stayed together. There were some tough times in that NAU game, some really tough moments. There was no composure problem on the sideline. There was no finger pointing, but we didn't have fun, and we've got to find a way to have some fun. It's called a game for a reason. It is a game, and I want to try to get that back for our team. So we're making some pivots in the way we interact with our players this week, the way we prepare, and we want to make sure that we're ready to go and give our best effort, and that's going to require more than just composure. It's going to require chasing the game and playing the game of football for the not just for the outcome on the scoreboard, but for the camaraderie and for the challenge and for the game itself, the actual game itself. Any questions?
Regaining confidence, something you talked about there, is that at all, is it reminiscent of last year kind of going down the stretch, or does it feel like a different set of issues kind of leading to a similar set of outcomes?
It's certainly similar, in my opinion. I actually when I spoke to our team yesterday, I acknowledged it's really difficult for one person, the head coach or anybody, to stand in front of 100 different guys, or 120 is our roster, even if I just take the 70 or so that would be on a travel squad or on a game day, a suit-up environment, so many individuals, so many guys that are happy with their role, unhappy. It's really difficult to nail the mindset of a whole team. But in my best effort to do that, I kind of related that to you. I think there was a confidence issue this last week. We had so many close losses. I believe that the cumulative effect of close losses, while in a short term, maybe playing a should have beat Colorado State game or every opportunity to beat South Dakota on the road, et cetera, several other games that we played very good teams to very close or winnable outcomes. The cumulative effect of that, when you just look at a 3-6 or 3-7 record, is more painful than any one of those events. And I think that's what our team has been struggling with, is that sometimes in a rebuild process like this, it can feel like it's impossible to break through. It feels like the closer we get, or the more that we break through, it's one step forward and two steps back. And I know that wears on the guys. And so that's a big part of my efforts this week, is to make sure that the game is fun, that the preparation is fun. We can't shirk any work. We've got to still work at it. We've got to prepare. We're playing against a good team. We need to be at our best. But at the same time, we've got to recognize that these guys play for the love of it. I don't think, long answer to your short question,
I appreciate it.
I don't think it's quite the same as last year or the year before. One of the issues that we had last year was going through so many different quarterbacks. It was difficult for the coaches to keep up and find our strengths. And felt like we were 2 or 3 weeks behind every opponent we were playing in terms of our progress on the season. I don't think there was a belief that we could win a year ago very often. I don't think that's the case now. I think our guys feel like if we play well, we win, but it's been elusive to play well against a couple of really good teams that we've played here the past 2-3 weeks.
Do you think that confidence has led to some of the slow starts we've seen? Because especially the last few weeks, it feels like kind of putting yourselves behind the 8 ball to get going.
Yeah, I'll go back. So one of the things that in football can really tear a team apart is it's not the same guys out there playing offense, defense, as you know. And so if I'm a basketball coach and I call for more defense, hey, our offense is doing pretty good, but the defense is struggling, nobody takes that as a personal insult. In football, that can really tear a team apart. And so you look at that Montana State game, everybody can acknowledge how good Montana State is, et cetera. With 1 minute left to go in the first half, it's 13-0. And we have we've had a very good competitive pass defense, felt very good about having that 1 minute drill and being able to hold them out of the end zone again. And if we had found a way to score of any type, special teams, offense, defense, it's game on against a great opponent, one of the top teams in the country. It didn't happen that way, and so it can be kind of natural when it just continues to happen like that one side of the ball starts to look at the other side and say, are you here today? Are you with us? And then and maybe that's the story of the Montana State game, is just we weren't very capable on offense that day. But then we go to NAU and give up the first possession for a score and didn't even really slow them down. I don't even know if there was a third down on that first drive that NAU scored on. Special teams didn't come to the party. We had a rally there by the offense and a couple stops on defense at the end of the first half, and all of a sudden we got a chance to go into halftime with a decent score, and we give up a kickoff return for a touchdown. Misplaced the ball, bad play call in that situation, some lack of concentration, lack of effort even, lack of strain on that kickoff coverage unit in that moment. So I think it can feel a little bit like a group of guys step forward and do their best, and then this other area let us down, and that's detrimental to a football team because we're not on that side of the ball, so it's hard to judge. We do need to inspire each other, and we have not been doing that.
How do you inspire them as coaches?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've acknowledged this with you before. One of my core philosophies, we get what we emphasize, and I get this from this team. They respond, and so when I asked them to stay together, no matter how difficult it got, they gave me that. I didn't ask for the right thing. I needed to ask for more than just staying together. Staying together is just a start, and I do think we made progress from the Montana State loss to the NAU loss in terms of the health of our locker room and the health of our sideline, the way we interact with each other. But I needed to inspire them to have more fun, to strive, to be able to enjoy moments. So one way I illustrated that yesterday with the team is I've watched every guy on our team. I've watched their highlight film from high school or junior college or the previous school. I know I can describe for you many individual plays that I remember about this guy or that guy on their highlight film, and yet I don't know if any of those highlights occurred on a win or a loss. And those plays were important to those kids, and they remain important to those kids. And we need to also, while we're striving to win, not be watching the scoreboard so much that we forget that we're out there making highlights that are important to these players, and those are important moments. And I want to do a better job, me and my staff, of making sure that we're, coaching is getting the highlights to fit into a system. We don't need guys out there renegading to build their own highlight film, but we also have a responsibility to help these guys build their highlight film.
What did you see from, or what do you think of Peter Costelli's performance at NAU, and then how's that kind of filtering into next week in the quarterback competition?
Peter came in, gave high effort, gave a spark at times. I think his effort is palpable. Just for a comparison's sake, Eric, I think exudes a lot of composure when he's in there, and different players have different strengths at all positions, and I thought Peter brought a spark of effort. There's a real strain there kind of in the way Peter plays all the time, and those aren't like better or worse. I just use it to illustrate. I think when Peter goes in the game, it can bring a spark to us. The overall production is what quarterbacks are judged on, and we had opportunities to drive and score in that game and didn't capitalize on them really with either quarterback enough. And so I'll just say it this way, the plan was not to have a quarterback controversy. It's not to play two quarterbacks, have guys coming in and out of the game. We would like to name a starter, put all of our confidence in that starter, and not play the other guy unless there's some type of injury. But we're not in that position, and we can't unscramble the egg at this point. It is where we are at. Our team has I don't think we're divided from a loyalty standpoint or a confidence standpoint in either one of those guys, but our whole team feels like both of those guys can lead us to victory, and we sorely need one or more of them to step up and lead us to victory, and we're going to give both an opportunity to do that.
So I guess, if I may, my question was, what is the plan at the position? Do you pick or do you use both? Sounds like you're leaving that door open to use both.
We certainly, I don't know if practice is just not consistently competitive enough to make a judgment to uproot a depth chart significantly during a week. Obviously, if somebody gets hurt or just is not performing at all during practice, then we would not hesitate to make that decision. But both those guys they're pros. They come out and prepare hard. They study the game. They're great leaders. Their team respects them. I don't see that changing between now and the game. And so like I said, you'll see them both. And if there's a hot hand, if there's a guy leading us, then you won't, probably the other guy won't get much of a chance to show that he's hot. We're because of where we're at, the quarterback position's like any other position on the field right now. If a guy's playing really well, the other guy is not going to get as much opportunity. If a guy's playing not as productive, then the other guy's coming in, whether that's corner or linebacker or offensive line or quarterback, and both. That's been the most important thing. That's been communicated to both of those quarterbacks. They're both 100% on board. They're both disappointed in the outcomes that we've had on offense, and they know how much their performance is a major part of our offensive outcome.
Going kind of back to the confidence thing, how hard is it to build that in a week of practice? Because I imagine like on-field results are probably going to be the best thing to build confidence. So do you have to kind of manufacture that, or is it in the messaging, or how do you kind of approach that?
Both. Yep. There's we want to do enough well-designed competitive drills that we can recognize and point to winning efforts and substandard efforts, and make sure that we're teaching in those moments. At the same time, during practice, we've got to find a balance between the true competition of football, which carries injury risk and fatigue risk, and we have a game coming up Saturday, and so we've got to balance that at the same time. And so I do think that a lot of it just has to be messaging, and then at the same time, I think that is one of the major differences. Going back to an earlier question you had, I don't think our team lacks confidence in what their potential to play is. I think they're lacking confidence in our ability to put it together in these recent moments. But I think generally our team knows that we have good players capable of winning and competing at this level of football in the Big Sky, and so we've just got to find the right formula to put it all together, and I don't know any other way to do it than to try to mimic it as close as possible in practice, but also strike a balance between what practice should be and what practice could be.
What makes you think that you can go out to Eastern and win this week?
I'll start with me, since you used the word you. Yeah. I'm unbreakable and optimistic through all adversity. And that's why I'm here. I'm sure a lot of people turned down this job before they got to my name. And I've been in these jobs before, and these are the ones I love. To see a team pick themselves up, unbury themselves, to see a program do that, begin to compete, fight to compete, insist that other teams fight against them, and then overcome at some point on that timeline. It's an unknown timeline, but it is a timeline, and I'm confident about where we're going. And so every week, I believe we're going to win, regardless of opponent. So it will always start for us at the line of scrimmage. I believe we have a big physical offensive and defensive linemen. We lose none to graduation. They're young. They're improving every week. We've had some areas of our offensive run game that have been very efficient. We need to tap into those more. And in our style of offense, it's really about being willing to tap into those at the right moments. We've got tight ends back, and so you see a little more multiple for our ability to get multiple on offense and have 2 tight ends on the field, or 3 tight ends, 4 at times. We have a track record of being dangerous as when we spread the ball out and do the vertical passing game. We have some young linebackers that are starting to add some depth at the linebacker position, which is a position that's been, at least the depth of it has been an issue for us, and we've kind of had to do that position by committee. But they're young and they have a bright future, and their confidence is growing. And we have a secondary that can match up in man-to-man coverage, which means they can play all the coverages. That's the most difficult one to play. I think we're hopeful that Cam will be back this week. He's practicing. He's one of the real leaders on our whole team, and it hurt to have him out. That was difficult. I thought our whole defense played with a little less confidence without him out there, having their back, so to speak, as the deep safety. So those are some of the major reasons that I think we can be successful on any Saturday.
What specific kind of challenges does heading to Cheney bring? I don't think it's homecoming for them this week, but from the outside, the red field is always felt like. Are any kind of travel logistical things challenges, and then kind of on the field, what are you looking at?
It's not the biggest logistical challenge in the conference. It's one of them. generally I think the closest full service hotel is in Spokane, and so a little bit of a game day drive, 25, 35 minutes, something like that. The weather in Cheney, I've never been there when it wasn't like kind of a wintry mix of wind and snow and rain. And it looks like this Saturday might be a little more mild than what I've experienced in the past, especially for this late in the year. So that, both teams deal with that. So it's not something we're overly concerned about. Whatever the weather is, it is. The red turf is, I think, a cool component to being a competitor in this league. I think, when guys get my age and they look back on their experience, the chance to play at some of the premier venues in the conference, like NAU and Montana State, and the aesthetics of those places, and then the red turf at Eastern Washington. I think it's one of those things that guys remember and get out there in the pregame and kind of look around, and then they realize it's not that big a deal. When they first put it in, I can remember, a lot of concerns. We should outlaw them wearing red jerseys. And then somebody else said, well, Sacramento State wears green jerseys on the green turf. So it's like, and that's been going on forever. So it's like, once you're out there, you're not really looking down. As a player, you're looking at the field, and it's just regular football. But it is a piece of tradition, and something that Eastern has done well at building up their tradition with the resources they have, and have a lot of success going back a long period of time.
What do you want to see from the team in these next 2 weeks?
Well, I want us to continue our composure. Through thick and thin, we do it together. We stick together. I want the boys to take a step back as a group and be able to look at the season, or in some cases the seasons, the progress that they've made. In my first year here, we had 4 seniors on senior day. Next week we'll recognize 21. That's a major difference in terms of their enjoyment of the program, their resiliency, the ability to stick together and stick something out. From a year ago where we were last in almost every category statistically in the conference, to now being somewhere in the middle, and some of the statistics higher and some of them lower, but overall a competitive effort in most or all weeks, competitive moments in even the worst games that we've played, and some amazing moments. And 3 wins doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of teams, but for us it's a significant improvement over a year ago. So I would hope that we can overcome the disappointment of the last, it's a 4-game losing streak at this point, but I would hope that we can kind of overcome that doom and gloom mindset and really focus on this week for what it is, in the greater context of where a lot of these players have brought the program. We don't lose. We have a lot more seniors than we have, but there's not a lot of them that are playing key roles. We'll talk about some of those guys next week. It's a team that returns a lot of talent, a lot of potential, and the ability to close this thing out right will be a part of their story, part of the story of this build that they've all signed up for. So I want them to play with the composure that we kind of have established now as being so critical through tough moments, but also to have fun in the last 2 weeks. Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great way to say it. The quarterbacks especially understand it. It's something that's sometimes lost for even me as the head coach who's not in the quarterback's room, and certainly our guys on defense and fans and media. So much of a quarterback's performance are the decisions. And you don't really see that on a stat sheet, the completions and attempts and touchdowns and interceptions, rushing yardage, et cetera. That those are all important statistics, but the quarterback's most important role is decision making. And so that, I think, is probably the area where we need to improve the most. There's a coaching aspect to that. There's a player aspect to that, and I think I have confidence in both of their ability to step forward in that part of their game, and the players around them can lead us to victory. And so I think maybe it's been a little too much of our mindset and their mindset that one of those guys needs to come in and be a hero. We don't need that. All quarterbacks look like heroes when they get the ball to the right person. Offensive coordinators look like heroes when they get the ball to the right person. That's our challenge moving forward, and that's the challenge to those two guys this week, is to get the ball in the correct person's hands, whether it's their hands, the running back's hands. Our running backs right now, as a group, are. I think there's something about the mindset of that room right now. There's a lot of good players. They're all pretty capable of being the guy at any given moment, and they cherish their reps. I think the way I said it to our staff, if any of them have a track or wrestling background, you set out in those sports to win a team championship. But if it kind of falls apart quickly, you don't lose any motivation. You're out there trying to set a PR. You're winning your individual event. You're there to beat the opponent in your weight class or something, and it can be a very much more individual type of sport. Our running backs have a little piece of that in them right now and showing up. They're all playing incredibly hard for the moments that they have in there, and we've got to find the right times to get the ball to them. We want to aspire to be a balanced offense. I'm not saying we can go in there and run the ball 60 times or anything like that, but I think we can mine that effort that's going on and that spirit that's coming out of that running back room right now. Right? Yeah, I would say even through our some of our best offensive production through the air. You take maybe the Idaho Sac State kind of 2-game stretch there. We were really connecting in our vertical passing game, but the run game was really popping too. And those things work together. They have to work together. So, like I said, I don't think it's a matter of moving into a triple option type offense to take advantage of a room full of running backs that play hard. There's some balance there that we've got to do a better job of achieving.
But I'm just kind of wondering, what else does the guy need to do?
Yeah.
With Eric, and so maybe, I guess my question then is, are there things that we don't see then? Because maybe he does make a play to somebody, but he really should have gone that way.
Sure. Yeah.
Roughly, am I understanding
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Fair question. Yeah.
Because I think that's important.
Yeah, a quarterback is an extension, to almost to a coaching level.
Sure.
And so while I can sit in here and talk about the things that our program is doing well, or the trajectory of our overall program, and feel positive about that, and expect that anybody listening would hopefully feel positive about that, I got to win every week. I got to establish credibility with my players and my team. I have to retain players. I have to build their confidence, and winning is a major part of that. The same is true for a quarterback. And there certainly could be. I don't want to go into too much detail. That's not my style. This guy messed up this play, but there are certainly times when a quarterback has the ability to audible or deliver the football to multiple people. And if we miss somebody who's wide open, or an opportunity that's more there, and force the ball into a more crowded area of defense, that may not show up on the stat sheet in the way that somebody like you might pay attention to. If I won't say. I mean, maybe somebody might read into that. Okay, well he should be running the ball, but as a quarterback, there are a lot of times when he has the ability to run or pass the ball, and if he runs it and we get nothing, he could have missed an opportunity there to throw the ball, or vice versa. And so those are things that we keep largely in our offensive meetings and quarterback room. But both of those guys can improve in that area, and I believe they have the team around them that if they improve, then the team will thrive.